Australian rock lobsters, particularly Panularis cygnus, commonly known as the western rock lobster, are one of the country's most prized and commercially valuable seafood species. The natural home of this lobster is the Western Australian coast, stretching from Shark Bay in the north to Cape Leeuwin in the south. Here, the warm Leeuwin current flows along the coast, providing ideal conditions for the growth and development of the rock lobster population. Which prefers coral reefs, rocky reefs and sandy bottoms with many crevices for hiding. Rock lobsters do not have large claws like the common lobster, Homerus, but instead have long antennae, sharp spines on their bodies and a hard outer shell to protect them from predators on the seabed. Australian fishermen have long developed a sustainable and effective method of catching this species, using pot traps. Pot is a cylindrical or box-shaped trap, usually made of wood, steel or hard plastic, designed to be easy for lobsters to get into but difficult to get out of. Each pot has a funnel-shaped entrance leading to the inside where bait is placed. Usually fish heads, fish meat, or even synthetic bait with a strong fishy smell to attract lobsters. The pots are tied to buoys floating on the water surface, making it easy for fishermen to locate each trap when pulling it up. Spiny lobster fishing in Australia is a combination of tradition and modernity. Many generations of fishermen in the Geraldton, Fremantle or Kalbarri areas have made a living from this profession for decades, passing on their experience from their ancestors. However, they also strictly follow the regulations of the government and the Western Australian Fisheries Management Agency, Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development DPIRD. Fishers must have a license, comply with the maximum number of pots allowed to use, the minimum size of lobsters to be harvested and the time of the spawning season. They also have to attach GPS tracking devices to each boat to ensure transparent and traceable fishing activities. Pot traps are usually released in the early morning or late afternoon, when the lobsters are most active. Fishermen will pull the pot after a night or a tidal cycle. Each time they pull the pot, they can see large, strong lobsters with bright red or light brown colors depending on the depth and sea area. The full-sized lobsters are kept, while the small lobsters or egg-bearing females are released immediately back into the sea to preserve the population. This is a characteristic of the Australian fishing industry. The spirit of conservation goes hand in hand with fishing. Western Australia's spiny lobster is one of the first fisheries in the world to be MSC, Marine Stewardship Council, certified, the highest international standard for sustainable fishing. This not only reflects the fishermen's awareness of ecological conservation but also increases the export value of the product. Most Australian spiny lobsters are exported to China, Japan and the United States, where they are considered a luxury food. During peak season, each lobster can sell for hundreds of Australian dollars. Spiny lobster fishermen face harsh working conditions. Western Australia's seas are known for their strong winds and waves, especially during the southwest monsoon months. They have to set sail very early, often before dawn, to release and pull in hundreds of pots in a day. Each pot weighs tens of kilograms, plus the weight of the anchor rope and buoy, making this job demanding in terms of physical strength and skill. However, they still love their job, because for them, the sea is not only a source of life but also a source of pride associated with the identity of the coastal people of Western Australia. In recent years, modern technology has been strongly applied to the spiny lobster fishing industry. Fishing boats are equipped with sonar systems to scan the seabed, helping fishermen locate the reefs where the lobsters live. GPS data and digital maps help them place traps optimally, avoiding duplicates or lost bait. Some fishermen also use catch tracking software to predict high-yield areas based on past data. All this makes traditional fishing smarter and more efficient, while also remaining sustainable. Spiny lobster growth is tied to the natural ocean cycle. In spring, when water temperatures rise and the Lewin current strengthens, lobster larvae, called phylosomus, drift offshore for months, sometimes up to 9, before metamorphosing into juveniles, purulus, and returning to shore. This is one of the magical periods of marine biology. Australian scientists have studied this process in depth, finding that changes in ocean currents due to El Niño and climate change can directly affect the number of adult lobsters in the following years. Therefore, lobster fishing not only depends on the skills of fishermen, but is also linked to global environmental changes. In the fishing villages of Western Australia, the image of lobster boats and rows of pots lining the docks is a familiar symbol. When the fishing season comes, the whole community becomes bustling. Pot factories work continuously. People prepare bait, repair mooring lines, and repaint buoys. This bustling atmosphere lasts for many months, especially from November to June, the peak season of the profession. After each trip, the lobsters are brought to the port, quickly classified and preserved in cold seawater or ice before being transferred to refrigerated trucks or planes for export. What is special is that in this profession, the spirit of cooperation between fishermen is very high. They often share information about water currents, seabed terrain, or lobster migration areas, helping each other avoid the risk of losing pots or being swept away. However, competition always exists. Whoever has the skill to choose a better place to put the pot. Whoever understands the movement rules of lobsters will catch more. There are veteran fishermen who can predict where the lobsters are gathering just by looking at the wind direction, feeling the salinity of the water and the color of the waves. Spiny lobsters are not only of economic value but also of great ecological significance in the Australian marine ecosystem. As mid-level predators, they help control the numbers of benthic animals such as sea urchins. Starfish and small crustaceans. When lobster populations decline, the reef ecosystem can become unbalanced, leading to sea urchin outbreaks and damaging the coral reef. Therefore, conserving lobsters is also protecting the entire marine ecosystem. Today, Australia's spiny lobster fishery is considered a model for sustainable fishing in the world. The government and fishermen coordinate management using a quota system. Each year, the maximum total catch is determined based on biological surveys, and fishermen are allocated quotas accordingly. They can buy, sell or trade quotas, but the total number is still limited to ensure that the lobster population is not overexploited. As the sun sets over the waters of Western Australia, lobster boats return from a day of work. The lights from the cabins reflect on the water, mixed with the sound of engines and waves lapping at the shore. Fishermen unload heavy pots, pouring out red, wriggling lobsters. Sweat, salt and joy blend together. For them, each lobster is not just an economic value, but a crystallization of experience, resilience and love for the sea. The Australian spiny lobster is not only a commercially valuable seafood, but also a symbol of the deep relationship between humans and the sea. When we talk about the spiny lobster fishery in Western Australia, we cannot separate the story of the complex biological cycle, the natural phenomena that control the life cycle of the species, as well as the ingenuity and understanding of the fishermen who have devoted their lives to the profession. The life cycle of the spiny lobster begins with the female carrying eggs, usually occurring in the summer when the sea temperature reaches the ideal level. The egg eggs are firmly attached to the mother's lower abdomen, which is protected by a hard shell and tiny filaments. After the eggs hatch, the phylloxoma larvae are released into the water to drift far from the shore, beginning a journey of hundreds of kilometers. The phylloxoma larvae are transparent, paper-thin creatures and have a shape almost completely different from the adult lobster. They live in the surface waters, moving with the Lewin current, a warm current that flows north to south along the coast of Western Australia. For about 9 to 11 months. Phyllosomus drift, using their tiny tentacles to catch plankton. This period is considered a test of survival, because only a tiny fraction of the millions of larvae survive and metamorphose into the next stage, the purulus. When they reach the purulus stage, their bodies become more solid, their color gradually becomes transparent and they become able to swim actively. This is when the juveniles begin to migrate upstream, closer to shore and seek shelter in the reefs. Researchers in Western Australia have been tracking this process for decades using specialized traps to count the number of purulus that land each year. This data is extremely important because it helps predict the number of adult lobsters in the next few years, thereby adjusting fishing quotas. It is this monitoring system that has enabled Australia's spiny lobster fishery to maintain a level of stability and sustainability that is rare in many other countries. One factor that has a strong influence on the survival of Phyllosomer and purulus is climate variability. When the Lewin current is weak due to El Niño, less warm water flows south. Which reduces the rate at which larvae return to shore. In such years, lobster production can then plummet. Conversely, in years when the Lewin current is strong, warm, nutrient-rich water helps larvae develop more easily. Understanding this connection means that scientists and fishermen must closely monitor ocean meteorological models, which not only predict the weather but also the future of the industry. As adult spiny lobsters. They live hidden in crevices in rocks, only coming out at night to feed. They feed on sea urchins, starfish, mussels, clams and other small crustaceans. Slow growth is a defining characteristic. It takes 5 to 7 years for a lobster to reach marketable size. Because of this slow growth rate, overharvesting can quickly collapse the population. So Australia enforces strict minimum size regulations. Lobsters that are undersized or that are ovulating females must be released immediately. Responsible fishermen often proudly say they're fishing for the future, as each lobster released today guarantees next season's catch. Western Australia's fisheries management system is considered the most advanced in the world. The government works with fishermen to run the industry on a science economy community model. Before each fishing season, scientists assess the population size based on survey data. Ecological models and the previous year's catch. From this, they propose a total allowable catch, TAC. The management agency then divides the TAC into quota units. which are allocated to individual fishermen or license holders. Each quota unit corresponds to a certain volume of lobster. Quota holders can fish within their allocated catch or sell off their rights on the market. This flexible mechanism helps regulate production according to supply and demand without disrupting the ecological balance. It is worth noting that this system is strongly supported by fishermen. They understand that protecting resources is not only for the environment but also for their own long-term benefit. Many older fishermen in Fremantle said that, before the quotas, there were periods of free fishing. Everyone wanted to go out early, release as many pots as possible to catch as much as possible. The result was a decrease in lobster stocks, fluctuating prices, and unstable incomes, since the introduction of the quota model in the early 1990s. Production has been more stable, value added has increased, and Western Australian lobster has become a global brand. The lobsters are carefully processed after being pulled from the pot. They are washed with seawater, sorted by size and placed in cold oxygen tanks. The purchasing companies have a collection station right at the port. Modern logistics systems allow the lobsters to be transported to Perth Airport within hours of being caught. From there, they are exported live by plane to Asian markets, especially China, where Australian spiny lobsters are considered a luxury dish during the Lunar New Year holidays. Some are consumed domestically, mainly in high-end restaurants. However, lobstering is not just about economics. It is part of the culture of coastal communities in Western Australia. Small towns such as Cervantes, Lancelin or Dongara are associated with this industry. Every year, at the beginning of the fishing season, people hold a lobster festival, to pray for a safe sea season and abundant catches. During the festival, they display their most beautiful pots, hold pot pulling competitions, cook lobster dishes, and perform folk music. It is an opportunity for the younger generation to better understand the arduous but proud work of their ancestors. The life of lobster fishermen often begins when it is still dark. They set sail at 3 to 4 a.m., when the sea is still in darkness. The light from the headlights shines down on the white-capped waves. The sound of the engine blends with the sound of the wind. They use hydraulic winches to pull the pots. Each pot weighs from 40 to 80 kilograms when full of lobsters. Each boat can carry hundreds of pots, arranged along a fixed route. When pulling the pots up, they Quickly remove the lobsters. Check the size, and then release the small ones into the sea. Every operation must be precise, quick, and safe, because just a small mistake can cause the pot to fall into the sea or the rope to get caught in the winch, causing an accident. A working day ends at noon or early afternoon. After delivering their catch, fishermen often gather at the port, drink coffee, chat and exchange information about the water, wind direction, or market prices. Stories of big catches or lots of prawns are always hot topics.
Yeah, probably. Alright, let's have a look at this one. Let's go. Alright, just on the ledge. Yeah, oh, this one's just out. Just short. Like it's tight, but yeah, not worth the risk. There you go, good breed. All the way down, there it goes, swimming away with its tail. Alright, let's find that fish.
Although modern technology has helped a lot, they still rely on their experience and intuition, something that no machine can replace. Western Australia's spiny lobsters are also being affected by climate change. Rising sea temperatures, falling pH and more frequent storms are changing their habitat. Some studies show that lobsters are moving south where the water is cooler. This poses a challenge for the industry as many traditional areas may become less productive. The Australian government is investing heavily in marine biological research, monitoring changes in distribution and developing adaptation measures, such as expanding fishing areas or adjusting quotas flexibly by area. Parallel, many community conservation initiatives are being implemented. Some fishermen volunteer to participate in the Reef Guardians program, in which they record observation data on corals, sea urchins, or baby shrimps and send them to scientists. The combination of folk knowledge and modern science creates an admirable system of natural resource management. In Western Australia, people often say, "No one knows the sea like those who live with it every day." For many fishermen, this profession is not only a livelihood but also a passion. Some have started going to sea since they were 16 years old, following the tradition of their fathers and grandfathers. Each scar on their hand tells a story of a storm, a lost pot, or a good shrimp season. Although profits sometimes depend on international markets, they persevere to stay at sea, because they know that the spiny lobster is a precious gift of the ocean, and they are the ones chosen to protect it. The economic value of the spiny lobster industry in Western Australia is enormous. Since the 1950s, when air freight exports began to develop, spiny lobsters have quickly become the leading foreign exchange earner for Western Australia. Today, the industry contributes hundreds of millions of dollars each year to the local economy. According to statistics from management agencies, the annual turnover of the spiny lobster industry reaches over 400 million Australian dollars, accounting for more than 20% of the total value of seafood products in the state. Not only that, The supply chain attracts thousands of jobs, from fishermen, technicians, boat drivers, mechanics, to packers, transporters, and exporters. In many coastal towns, the lobster industry is almost the economic lifeblood. Places such as Geraldton, Lancelin, Dongara or Fremantle all thrive on the benefits of this lobster. Fremantle Port is particularly busy during peak season when hundreds of tons of lobsters are gathered, packaged, quality checked and loaded onto planes. For exporters, ensuring a cold chain is vital. Spiny lobsters are very sensitive to temperature, so the entire process from pulling the pot up to putting them in the tank must be maintained below 10 degrees Celsius. Large companies invest in oxygen pumping systems, monitoring salinity and water temperature with automatic sensors to ensure that the lobsters are always in a healthy condition when they reach consumers. The largest consumer market for Australian spiny lobsters is China. The Chinese love this species not only for its sweet taste, but also for its bright red color, which symbolizes luck. During the Lunar New Year, demand skyrockets, causing each lobster to cost hundreds of dollars. However, the industry has also experienced many fluctuations. In 2020, when trade relations between Australia and China were tense, the lobster export market was severely disrupted. Thousands of lobsters were stranded at Perth Airport, unable to clear customs. This forced Australian companies to seek new markets: Japan, South Korea, the US and even Europe. Although difficult, it helped the industry diversify its export channels and reduce its dependence on a single market. The development of international logistics and e-commerce technology has helped Australian spiny lobsters reach more customers. Some companies have experimented with selling directly to overseas restaurants via online platforms, even offering sea-to-table services, meaning lobsters are delivered to your table within 48 hours of being caught. Australian lobster, fresh from the Indian Ocean campaigns have appeared on international media channels, showing proud Australian fishermen in modern, environmentally friendly working environments. But alongside economic success, the industry also faces many challenges. Climate change is one of the biggest factors. Rising sea levels, changing temperatures and ocean acidification are affecting the entire food chain at the bottom of the sea. Changing the habitat of lobsters. Some studies show that lobsters are moving further south where the water is colder, shifting fishing grounds. This means that many traditional ports in the north may become less efficient in the future. In addition, risks such as stronger storms and unstable ocean currents are also taking a toll on fishermen, with hundreds of pots being washed away overnight. Australia's conservation policies focus heavily on adaptation and prevention. The government encourages fishermen to participate in environmental impact assessment programs, share data on catches and locations, and electronic monitoring systems on vessels allow authorities to track fishing activities in real time. These innovations are not only aimed at preventing illegal fishing, but also at building a huge database for biological research.